This is the Content Marketing Podcast, episode number 219, The 5 Pillars of Powerful Personas. Hello and welcome to the Content Marketing Podcast. This is the show where we help you grow your tribe and your bottom line through insanely good content. I'm your host, Rachel Parker of Resonance Content Marketing, and today is March 23rd, 2017. Greetings from beautiful Washington, D.C. Yes, I'm recording this week's episode on the road as I am here to present at the Social Media for Healthcare Marketing Conference. Now, on Monday, I delivered a 2-hour workshop on using personas to rise above the noise and went wonderfully. I had a great group, had great interaction, and so now I just get to relax and enjoy the rest of the conference. By the way, I am planning my speaking schedule for the rest of the year, and I do have some availability in the fall and later on in the year. So if you are looking for a content marketing speaker for your conference or other event, please shoot me an email at rachel@resonancecontent.com and let's chat about it. We'd love to hear more about what you've got going on. Okay, just a reminder, this podcast is available on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play Music. So if you like what you hear, please feel free to click on over and subscribe. Also, I invite you to download my complimentary audio and ebook, 5 Things You Must Know About Content Marketing. Grab your free copy to learn the 5 things you absolutely have to know to reap the benefits of a solid content marketing program. Go to resonancecontent.com/resources and you'll see the link right there near the top of the page. Okay, last week we talked about writing, specifically why good writing is making a comeback. Not that it ever left, but you'll see what I mean. And why it's time for us to up our writing game in every single piece of content we publish. If you happen to miss that episode, feel free to check it out on iTunes or via the RSS feed. Also, today I am sharing some insights from the workshop I just presented on personas. Specifically, we're going to be talking about the 5 pillars that go into any powerful persona. But first, it's time to check in with our news feed for this week's rundown of news you can use. Surprise, surprise, some news from Facebook kicking off our news feed. And they disappear for a while, but then when they come back with a vengeance. According to Social Media Examiner, Facebook appears to be testing video insights for personal profile users. Now, if this rumor is true, it means that you will soon be able to see analytics for videos that you create and share through your personal profile. According, again, to Social Media Examiner, the video metrics will reportedly include insights on engagement, views, minutes viewed, and overall performance for the past 7, 30, and 60 days. Again, this is all just hearsay right now, so stay tuned for updates. Also, a cool new feature on the LinkedIn mobile app. With the latest update, you can now edit your profile photo and even add filters from right there within the app. To use the new profile photo tools, go to your profile. Again, this is on the LinkedIn mobile app. Go to your profile, tap the pencil icon to open the edit profile function, and then you will see the pencil icon again next to your profile photo. So just tap on there to access these photo editing tools, and you can crop your photo, you can adjust brightness, contrast, other aspects, and you can even add some Instagram-like filters. Now, there aren't quite as many filters as we find on Instagram, but there are some interesting options there. So if your LinkedIn profile photo could use a little zazazoo, then go ahead and check it out. Okay, more news about Facebook. Oh my goodness. So back in January, we reported that Facebook had begun testing Facebook Stories, a new feature that mimics Snapchat and Instagram stories, so the Snapchatization of Facebook, and they had started testing that in Ireland. Well, we recently learned that the test has now expanded to more countries, including Chile, Vietnam, and Greece. So no word yet on when it will be available globally, so again, stay tuned for more info on Facebook Stories. Okay, our content hit of the week is a post titled "The 11 Critical Podcast Statistics of 2017." This is written by our friend Jay Baer over at the Convince and Convert blog. Did you know that 42 million Americans, that's 15% of the population, 42 million Americans listen to podcasts weekly? That is just one of the statistics from a recent Edison research report that Jay cites in this blog post. Lots and lots of great information. So if you are planning on starting a podcast and need to convince someone, say, someone to whom you report, who has some budgetary discretion, I recommend you check it out, and I will share the link in the blog post for this episode. The title again, "The 11 Critical Podcast Statistics of 2017" by Jay Baer on the Convince and Convert blog. That's it for this week's update. If you stumble across something you think might be of interest to your fellow content marketers, please tweet it to me at @RachelParker so that we can share. Now it's time for this week's Spotlight segment, the 5 Pillars of Powerful Personas. As I mentioned earlier this week, I had the pleasure of presenting a 2-hour workshop on using personas to rise above the noise at the Social Media for Healthcare Marketing Conference here in Washington, D.C. So today I want to share with you some of the insights that were a part of that presentation. And, sometimes when teams get into personas and make a decision that they're going to create personas and start using them, a little confusion sets in that, okay, what do we need to be gathering? How much is too much data and how much is just right to inform our content decisions? So as I was putting together this presentation, I was thinking about that, because it's really easy, especially if you're someone like me, to get obsessive and to really get detailed on these personas to where by the time you're done, you've got 5 pages of single-spaced information, way too much. So what I did is I looked at the different categories of information that we need about these personas, and I narrowed it down to 5 pillars. So these are 5 categories of information that will help us put together powerful personas. Now, are we going to have absolutely every morsel of information underneath each pillar? Absolutely not. But I think it's helpful as we first start approaching those personas to think about these 5 general categories and to start categorizing that information as it comes in. So the first pillar of powerful personas is demographic information. And this would be information that you would see on a census questionnaire. Things like age, gender, geographical location, marital status, family status, whether they have kids or maybe elder parents living with them, work situation, income level, things like that. And this is, basic census type information. Now, I was commenting to the folks I was speaking to in that healthcare has a distinct advantage because you guys collect a lot of information about your patients. When you go to a new doctor's office or a new practice, then there's always a lot of paperwork to fill out, and that paperwork involves a lot of information that they collect about you. So you may or may not have all this information about the people you want to target, and if not, then it's probably time to do some research. So that's pillar number 1, demographic information. Pillar number 2 is what we call psychographics. So I define psychographics as the influences on your decision making that do not fit into a spreadsheet. So the demographic information would fit easily into rows and columns on an Excel spreadsheet. Things like age, maybe zip code, marital status. But psychographics it gets a little deeper into this person's head. So when we talk about psychographics, we talk about things like values. Let's say a 35-year-old woman who works outside the home, one who is very focused on her career, who values her career very highly, would have a very different set of values as opposed to one who is more focused on the family, and the career always comes second. So that's just one example of how someone with the same demographic profile could have very different value systems. And when we look at psychographics, we also look at interests, we look at lifestyle, we look at behaviors. Is this person, again, getting back to the healthcare example, is this person a coffee drinker? Is this person a smoker? Is this person, does this person exercise on a regular basis? Things like that. And then also, one thing that I pointed out with this group is, where does this person like to get their health information? Or thinking about your company, where do they like to get their information that pertains to your product or service? If you are a SaaS company, where do they get information about software for different capabilities? So, think about that. Think about those preferences as part of researching pillar number 2, which is psychographics. So we've got pillar number 1, demographics, pillar number 2, psychographics. Pillar number 3, I call motivators. So what motivates this person to want to read your blog, to want to follow you on social media, to want to subscribe to your podcast, subscribe to your e-newsletter, et cetera, et cetera. And, whenever we talk about motivation, I like to return to Maslow's pyramid. Now, if you're not familiar with the work of Abraham Maslow, that's spelled M as in Michael, A-S-L-O-W. He was a psychologist working, I believe, in the 1940s, and his whole thesis was that, okay, human beings do stuff, from brushing our teeth to getting married to choosing a career, et cetera, et cetera. And so he was able to narrow down the motivations behind each of those things that we do. And his thesis was that everything that we do is in pursuit of filling a certain need. And he came up with 5 levels of needs that people are seeking to fill. So there's physiological needs, so things that keep us alive, so food, rest, water, things like that. And then the next level up, so let me back up. These needs are arranged in a pyramid. So at the bottom of the pyramid is the psychological needs, the most basic needs that keep us alive on this fair planet. So things like food, water, rest, etc. The next level up is safety needs. So keeping ourselves secure, keeping ourselves safe. For our ancestors, this meant protecting themselves and their families from predators. Well, our safety needs are a little bit different here in 2017, but we still have those basic needs. Then the next level up from that is belongingness. So we need to seek out relationships. This is why we seek to get married. This is why we seek friendships. This is why we join communities. The next level up from that is the esteem needs. So this has to do with prestige, with feelings of accomplishment, with how we want people to see us. So in the example persona that I used for this group, we looked at a woman we named Teresa, and one of her needs that she seeks to fulfill is she wants her family to see her as a good mom. So the good mom label was very much tied into those esteem needs. So and it wasn't something superficial. She wasn't looking for a Mom of the Year trophy, just she wants her family to see her as a good mom. And so the 5th and final level is what he calls self-actualization. This is the highest level of need, and this has to do with achieving one's full potential. So, if you look at, for example, if we talked about if a healthcare company is targeting runners, well, you've got the runner who is just putting in 2 or 3 miles a day just to get some cardio in and to stay healthy and to stay fit. And then you also have the marathon runner. And the marathon runner, is seeking to fulfill that self-actualization. Marathon running certainly doesn't keep us alive. It doesn't keep us safe. You go through all the other levels, but they are marathon athletes. So running marathons feeds that self-actualization need. So that's just a brief overview of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I encourage you to look it up. In fact, I wrote a blog post about it a few weeks ago that you might find interesting. But my point is that when we look at what motivates people to follow you, to follow your content, to follow you on social media, they're actually looking to satisfy one of those needs. For example, the security need. So in healthcare, people are looking to not only meet their family's current needs. If someone's sick, they need a doctor, but they're looking for that preventative medicine. How do I keep my family safe? What do I need to know about the Zika virus to keep my family safe, et cetera, et cetera. So pillar number 3, we want to look at those motivators that impel people to follow your content. Pillar number 4, we want to look at pain points. So what frustrates these folks? What keeps them up at night? And with this healthcare crowd, we talked about 2 categories of pain points. Number 1, literal pain points, right? What health issues are they dealing with, or what potential health issues are they dealing with? But also, we want to look at the pain points that have to do with their frustrations with other health providers. Do they always arrive on time for that pediatrician appointment and then sit in the lobby for an extra 25 minutes? Or can they never get a human being on the phone when they call? These are very important pain points that a healthcare organization will want to be very aware of and very conscious of, and that they can subtly address in their content. To hopefully try and win over some of those patients that are having those pain points. If the physician never has convenient appointment times, or if the staff isn't helpful, then they can subtly work that into their own content through, for example, patient testimonials, where they talk about, we arrive on time for our appointment and we are just seen right away, things like that. So pillar number 4 is those pain points. So let's recap. Pillar number 1, demographic information. Pillar number 2, psychographics, where we talk about things like values, interests, habits. Pillar number 3 was motivators. So what in Maslow's pyramid, which of those needs are they trying to satisfy? And then pillar number 4 is their pain points. And then pillar number 5, I kind of group everything that has to do with their content preferences. So this would include things like, where do they hang out on social media? And when they go to social media, what do they do there? Are they lurkers? Do they just look at what's going on? Are they contributors? Are they liking, commenting, sharing? Or are they creators? Are they sharing their own content? These are 3 very different categories of social media interactors. What are their preferred formats of content? Do they prefer text? Do they prefer audio? Do they like video? Maybe they have a long commute and they like to listen to podcasts. That would be good information to know. And then also I challenged the workshop attendees to say, okay, how likely is social media or is content in general to influence their healthcare decisions? And, one of the other presenters was talking about her mom, who is the frame of reference for everything. And she said, my mom is very old school, and when she needs help making a healthcare decision, she will pick up the phone and she will call her friends and say, okay, I need a new primary health physician, or I'm looking for someone to take a look at my knee, or something like that. Or she'll call her primary care physician to get a referral for a dentist or whatever she needs. But for many of us, many people don't trust social media for information to drive those healthcare decisions. So that's an important aspect to look at. How likely are they to get information from blogs and from podcasts and from videos that they find out there? Very, very important information. So to sum up, we've got these 5 pillars that we looked at, and those were number 1, demographics, number 2, psychographics, number 3, motivators, number 4, pain points, and number 5, content consumption preferences. Let's just say, how do people like their content, and when and where do they prefer to get it? So that is my quick and dirty summary of the 5 pillars that go into powerful personas. So if you're just getting into thinking about personas for your brand, those 5 pillars are a good place to start. As always, if you have questions or want to add to the conversation, I would love to hear from you, and feel free to tweet me at Rach Parker. Now it's time for our content marketing tip of the week. You know, when teams first decide to create personas and they know the types of information that they're looking for, the number one question that I hear is, well, where do we start? You know, do we need to bring in some agency to start doing focus groups? Where do we start trying to find this information? And I always tell them to start with your current customers. Because think about it. These are people who have said yes to your brand, who have, for however it was they found you, once they did find you, they said yes, and they signed on the dotted line, or they became a patient, or whatever that conversion criterion is. So spend some time gathering data about your current customers. Now, I was telling this crowd of healthcare managers that they were fortunate in this respect, because healthcare organizations have to get a lot of data about their patients. New patient form contains age, occupation, health history, family situation, things like that. But even if you're not in healthcare, you probably know more than you think you do about your current customers. And it might involve a little digging. You may have a wonderful, robust database that will tell you everything you need to know, or you might need to sit down with your sales associates or with your customer service associates to get some of that information. But again, that is the best and most logical place to start, because again, these people have already said yes to your brand. So look at whatever data you have, fill the gaps that you need to fill, and start putting data on your current customers to use as a foundation of a powerful persona. Okay, campers, that is it for me today. I hope you've enjoyed this episode of the Content Marketing Podcast from beautiful Washington, D.C. If you like what you've heard today, please feel free to subscribe on iTunes or Stitcher or Google Play Music or via our RSS feed. And if you really like what you've heard, please, please, please leave us a quick review on iTunes. I would so appreciate it. It takes just a few minutes, and what it does is it helps up our iTunes search mojo, so that when people go searching for Content Marketing Podcast, this will come up very high, and we can get in front of more people and share some more fabulous information with an even bigger audience. So really, really appreciate the reviews that we've gotten so far. Wonderful stuff. Also, remember that my book, The Content Marketing Coach, Everything You Need to Get in the Game and Win, is available in book and Kindle format on Amazon. To learn more about the book and to snag a free chapter, visit contentmarketingcoachbook.com. As you know, I always like to leave you with a quote, and today, in honor of March Madness, we have a quote from the world of basketball. Legendary coach Bobby Knight once said, "The key is not the will to win. Everybody has that. It is the will to prepare to win that is important." Unquote. Again, this is Rachel Parker with Resonance Content Marketing. Thank you again for listening, and we will see you again next week. Take care.